While we're waiting, give us a little taste of this love story.
Where do I begin?
Page
It all
one.
started back in 1965.
That's a great year.
Two young kids fell madly in love, but they lost track of each other in the craziness of sex, drugs, rock and roll, and the Vietnam War.
How did we get you on the Chicago local music scene podcast,
Tell me about it.
Deb? How did this happen?
Yeah.
Well,
Tell
that's a
us.
good question because I don't know. I mean, when I was looking at your podcast and stuff, I'm like, I've only been in Chicago for 3 years. Why did you
perfect.
guys decide to put
That
me
beats
on
Canada.
this show? Because the book itself was, basically set in Southern California during the 70s. And I'm a local author now. It's my debut novel. I've never written a full book before. There's a lot to unpack here. So it's based on a true story. So the two young kids that fall in love are basically the protagonist, who was an incredible rock and roll musician named, his real name is Craig Ingraham. And you can listen to his music online. He's Michael in the book, and I'm Grace.
Okay.
So I changed all the names to protect the innocent and the guilty, because no one's innocent, everybody's guilty of something, right? And it's a crazy story. So we met, as I said, I was only 15 and he was 18. So that was a little rocky because neither of our parents were happy with that, but we fell madly in love. And we stayed together for 7 years, so all the way through high school. And he had already graduated from high school, so he was out playing bands. Back in the day, I don't know if we can do this anymore, but all the rock and roll musicians had fake IDs, so they would attend clubs.
They still have fake IDs, don't they, Pete?
They're really good these days.
Do you think you can get away? Yeah, do you think you can get away with it now? I don't know.
I need a fake ID that says I'm 10 years younger.
Yeah. I need one that says I'm 30.
So is this taking place on the West Coast?
Yeah. So we met. I'm a Valley girl, long before Moon Zappa and Frank Zappa talked about the Valley. For sure. Right.
For sure.
Yeah, how did that start?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was that song that came out, and then they ended up making a movie. Remember? So I don't really know much about it, but the San Fernando Valley is, considered that's where the valley, right? Because really, back in the day, there was only one valley out there, but now LA has become so sprawled, that there's Simi Valley and Santa Clarita Valley. That's beyond the valley. So, but anyway, when somebody would say the valley, it meant the San Fernando Valley. Tom Petty wrote songs about the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
Reseda Boulevard, etc. That's my territory. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we grew up out there. We were playing a lot of music. My brothers were in bands. I was singing with Craig. We were in bands. I've been in bands all my life, pretty much. And then we lost track of each other. So what happened was in 1973, when we were still together, he started a band called Freedom Quest. And this was a monster band, and the music is still streaming. You guys got to hear it. I mean, it's amazing music. But it was short-lived. So what happened, and this is a crazy story that I had to write. I mean, it was just too good to pass up. Several people wanted to write this book, and I ended up writing it, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, so the band was together, that we were recording at Mystic Sound in Hollywood, and Craig ran out of money. And so one of the roadies in the band said, "Hey, man, I know how I can get you some money real quick. We can turn around some kilos." And He said, okay. And the roadie was working for the feds. He was on
Oh,
probation.
oh God.
And he set him up.
Oh,
And yeah. So the minute the cannabis changed hands, the marijuana changed hands, the police swarmed in, and he went to jail for 3 nights. And then he went before the judge, and the judge said, I can see you're not a hardened criminal. I'm going to give you honor camp. So 6 weeks in honor camp, and I don't want to see you back here ever again. But the band broke up. So the band, the guys in the band, okay, so David Benoit had a great career as a jazz musician, David Benoit.
I know that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was the keyboard player. Brian Magness, the bass player, monster. It was a nine-piece band. There was violin, flute, three background singers, percussion, and a rhythm section.
Wow.
Craig played rhythm and lead guitar, and also had a three-octave range. Guy was insane. Very, very talented. And it was all his original music. So, we all were expecting a record deal. He was very close. I mean, they were looking at him, for a record deal. And then he went to jail and the whole thing blew up. And then, so the band broke up, the record deal, was funked. I mean, it was gone. And I left him. And at that point, he spiraled downward into a really bad place. So I got scared, I mean, there was a lot of drugs around. There were a lot of groupies around. I mean, I remember there was a bowl of chocolate mescaline on our living room table, you know, and then he went
That'll
to
screw.
jail.
That'll mess you up.
Yeah, and then he went to jail, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So while he was gone, and I just decided I'm just gonna, and I loved him. I loved him, but he was wild, extremely talented, but wild. And so I left him, and then I ended up getting married. I met another guy, and then all of a sudden I heard he had moved to Hawaii. And I'm like, how did, he didn't even tell me he was moving to Hawaii. I was mad. I was like, then I realized, well, I broke up with him. So, he had a right to do whatever he wanted to. But he went to Hawaii. And then I got married. And then I didn't know this until I met him 30 years later, almost 30 years later. He got messed up in a religious cult over in Hawaii.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. When I got back, I was like, what? You know, how could you do that? How could and he was not only mentally abused, but physically abused. He almost lost his hand. This
Jeez.
guy was a real piece of work. And I had to dig deep to try to figure out how in the world this guy who was so talented and so intelligent, and we called him Mr. Jukebox. He knew, he was one of those people that knew all the songs, all the words to all the songs, and he was really, really amazing. Anyway, so we got back together again and had 20 beautiful years, and he had finally grown up, shall we say. He was finally a responsible adult. He escaped the cult twice. And the second time, he finally was able to get away. The cult leader got arrested and put in jail. And he was able to start putting his life back together again.
Now this wasn't part of Manson and all that, right? This is another
No, yeah,
No, it's not Jim
another cult.
Jones.
Manson was in the valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I remember that. It was scary. In fact, I never went to his ranch, but my neighbor, a friend, my best friend when I was growing up, she was at Manson's ranch. It was like maybe 10 minutes away from my house. Yeah, that was super scary. Yeah.
Deb, you have quite the background.
I got a story for you.
Well, talk to me about Sammy Davis Jr., baby.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny that that was the least prepared audition I ever went to. How ironic was that?
Give us some background here, because I'm just going off of blurbs.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
build it up.
So as I said, I started dancing professionally. So I quit college after 2 years, and I said, look, if I'm going to be a dancer, I gotta do it now while I'm young. So I started dancing professionally, but I realized I also liked to sing, so I decided to go into musical theater. And I was living in LA, and one day every day I would go and pick up this little newspaper magazine that would have all the auditions for the week. I think it was Casting Call, I think was the name of it or whatever. So anyway, I remember pulling up in front of the newsstand and picking up this paper. I was on Hollywood Boulevard. And I started leafing through it really quick, and I saw this audition that was literally a couple of hours later. And I'm like, Sammy Davis Jr. auditioning for Sammy Stops the World. Oh my gosh, I gotta be there. So I went home, showered, went back immediately, and walked into this audition with literally no music. I mean, I wasn't really prepared. And I think that's why I got it. Because it's like, what are you going to sing for us, Deborah? Well, how about Summertime in the Key of C? And they're like, okay. So they had a piano player, and I started singing, and they stopped me halfway through, and they went, thank you very much. And I left, and I got a call back,
The
and then I
Janis
got another
Joplin
call back.
song?
No.
Summertime?
Summertime and the
Oh, okay. I got
living
you.
is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
easy.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah. The standard, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I ended up getting the job, and we toured San Diego, LA, Chicago in 1978. I was here for the first time in Chicago at McCormick Place
Wow.
at the theater
Nice.
there. And
Oh,
then,
Airy Crown, isn't it?
yes,
Airy
right.
Crown.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always forget the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
People.
remember I stayed in a little hotel. They put us up, and I was in a hotel on Elm Street, right by the lake. I used to jog along the lake. And
So that
then,
was your first exposure to Chicago,
yes,
1978.
1978, first time ever. And then I remember I fell in love with Chicago food because there was a little coffee shop up the street. And I walked over there one day and I ordered a piece of cheesecake. And I was so I, I I loved that cheesecake so much that when I got back to LA after the tour was 4 months. I got back to LA and I called the coffee shop up and I ordered a cheesecake from that place. I was so in love with the Chicago food. And ever since then, I always say Chicago has the best food in the nation, I
It
think.
really does. I mean, I did a lot of traveling over the years, and I can tell you, I've been to a lot of cities, and some cities are good for certain foods. Whatever, barbecue here, or steaks there, or Philly cheesesteak over there. But go to Chicago, and I got to tell you, you got so many different cultures and so many different foods, and the restaurants are really tremendous. I'm in
And
agreement
yeah,
there.
deep dish pizza. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, of course, good
Yeah,
stuff.
I've
Good
done it.
stuff.
Yeah. I still think
What's your favorite one? If you had a
I
pick,
still think Giordano's is the best. All right, thank you. Because I
All
was
right,
one
go
more
ahead.
wonderful story of the Sammy Davis Jr. tour.
Oh, yes.
Actually, two stories. I'll tell you.
All right.
One is in Chicago. So Sammy actually, the cast was only 11 people, and Sammy actually invited us all to his apartment downtown Chicago, and he cooked for us. I mean, it was
Sammy cooked?
Sammy cooked. He was in the kitchen cooking. Jesse Jackson was there. I was totally blown away. I could not even speak. I was so blown away. And then we got to New York and we danced in Lincoln Center. And for a dancer, oh my goodness. And so then I would go downstairs. Lincoln Center has I think two floors of rehearsal rooms below the main plaza and the theaters. And I would warm up. I would go down there early and warm up. And each, rehearsal room had hardwood floors, a piano, wall to wall mirrors, and bars and everything. Well, one day I went down there and every rehearsal room was full. I could not find a place that was empty. So I remember walking down this hallway and I opened the door to this one rehearsal room, and who's standing there but Mikhail Baryshnikov, smoking a cigarette.
A Russian dancer?
Who was taller?
My all-time, all-time favorite male ballet dancer, Mikhail Baryshnikov. And I immediately went, oh, and I shut the door and turned around and walked away, walked down the hallway. I got halfway down the hallway and I thought, well, maybe he's finished. This would be my opportunity to talk to Mikhail Baryshnikov and ask him if he's finished with rehearsal or if he's just starting or what. Now, I argued with myself back and forth. I should just keep walking. No, maybe I should go talk.
Not going to get many opportunities to meet him.
Thank you. And I thought to myself, carpe diem, carpe momentum. I am gonna go talk to him. So I turned around, I walked back in, and I said, excuse me, I'm looking for a place to warm up, and oh, please come on in. He goes, yeah, I'm waiting for the piano player and my partner. But while I'm waiting, please. So, are you kidding me? So I walked to the back of the room and I'm like, here I am doing my ballet warm-up bar in front of Mikhail Baryshnikov. Are you kidding me? Anyway, needless to say, about 5 minutes later, the piano player walks in and his partner Patricia McBride, and I don't know if you know who Patricia McBride is, but she's like she was and still is in the books as a huge ballerina star, walks in and they start a pas de deux duet together with a piano player. I sat down. I was the only other person in the room for this rehearsal.
Hmm.
It was
Wow.
really special. Yeah, I mean,
I know.
I don't even have
And you
any
don't
video.
travel with a camera.
I have one video, which is on YouTube, of me in the cast of that show, Sammy
Okay.
Stops the World, which is on YouTube. But other than that, people ask, do you have any video of you dancing? And I don't. I have stills, but I don't have any video. It just
Pretty cool.
didn't
That's
happen.
some famous people there. You're rubbing elbows
Yeah,
with some real famous people.
yeah, it was amazing. And then there's also the 7 songs that we recorded before Craig got busted.
Yeah.
And those 7 songs are on, anywhere streaming. And there's also 3 more albums of Craig Ingram after Freedom Quest, after he got out of jail,
Just
after he got.
solo stuff, right?
No, most of it's with bands, other
Oh,
bands. So we
okay.
always had bands.
Gotcha.
I must say though, once he got his digital workstation and he started working on a digital workstation, he had a Roland VS 1680. And he started doing a lot of songs just by himself and
Recording all the instruments.
everything. He
Yeah.
played bass, piano, guitar,
Wow.
and drums.
Wow.
So yeah, he was his own rhythm section, and you know, wasn't expensive, wasn't as expensive that way, trying to
Huh.
put a band together and all that. So that was back. Oh, he got his digital workstation in the late 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. And then after that, a lot of his stuff.
Cool.
Um, and you wouldn't believe it. There's this one song you have to hear. It's called Painkiller. And it's about cannabis. He loved cannabis. He
Mm.
loved marijuana. He did not drink alcohol, but he loved cannabis and he loved to grow it too. And he was very good at it. And
This is before
so,
the days of grow houses too, right? So he was cultivating this stuff kind of on his own, right? I mean, he was. I'm thinking,
it was
it's
still
very
illegal.
advanced nowadays. I mean, they have all kinds of ways that they can make these strains and ways to. Yeah, I mean, they can make all kinds of variations on it, sativas and indicas and all this other
Yeah,
stuff. So he was
yeah,
doing this all pre, right? He had
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
lamps and lights and all that. I'm
Well,
assuming.
no, outside because he had a backyard. Back in the valley, you can grow outside.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
missed
true.
that because I
That's
really
true.
enjoyed growing with him,
Yeah,
when we got back together again.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, so what was I gonna say? I
I
forgot. I
know, Deb.
lost.
I have to ask,
Yeah,
what did Sammy Davis cook?
pasta.
What kind of
Pasta.
pasta?
Oh,
Red sauce, white sauce?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I don't
make it
remember.
up.
It was
No.
probably red sauce. No, but no, I do remember it was pasta, and I remember his bodyguards were in there helping him. That was funny. His
Did he sing it?
entourage.
Did he sing it all there, baby?
Yes, they did. They actually sat around the piano afterwards, and everybody sang.
Oh,
And
that's
yeah,
cool.
it was really amazing. Yeah.
All right, continue your thought. I'm sorry. That was
Oh,
bugging me.
Well, I
I
thought we were talking about pot.
But yeah, we were. Yeah. No
Somewhere
wonder
along the
I'm
lines.
forgetting. No wonder I'm forgetting. Right?
Well, here, you want to
Yeah.
talk about pot?
Well,
Because
let's.
recently, psychedelics
Yeah.
got pretty much approved, and weed. Did Nixon screw the whole thing up because he hated the hippies and the protesters?
I just read a book about that. Michael Pollan. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with him. Michael Pollan. Yeah, he just. I wrote it. I read his book. It's not his most recent book, but it's called How to Change Your Mind, and it's the history of psychedelics. And it was really interesting. I mean, I was there, but I didn't know all the ins and outs. And what he said was he didn't want to blame Timothy Leary, but Timothy Leary really like kind of, said everybody should take this, everybody should tune in and drop out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's once the psychedelics left the laboratory and the therapy, with doctors, that's when it really everybody got scared. Uh, and understandably so, because what it does is it kind of like, you know, it changes your brain waves to really question authority. It makes you realize we're all one. There's all these things that authority and government and people in charge, are afraid of.
Yeah.
And so once it got out of the laboratory and doctor's offices, it got crazy. And I agree. I think that if you're going to take psychedelics, you really need to be in a controlled environment because if not, you can have a really bad trip.
Need a
It can be
Sherpa.
very scary.
Well, I also think too that when it's not being produced in a lab and you got somebody making it in a bathtub, you don't know how powerful it's going to be either.
And you don't
And
know what's in it either,
you don't know what's in it.
you know?
Strychnine, you don't. I mean, what the
Yeah.
hell? I mean, you don't
Yeah.
know what you're taking. So that's the
Or
danger of
fentanyl.
it. But I got to tell you, I did see a report on 60 Minutes, and this is probably
Yeah.
maybe a year or two ago, and
Good.
they were talking about veterans with PTSD, and
Hmm.
they put them in this experimental thing using this, control group, if you will,
Oh,
using psychedelics and how it helped them kind of get over their PSD. And it was very interesting stuff. And as
yeah.
Pete alluded to, I saw that the president signed that thing, whatever it was, Saturday or whatever. He signed
A
the
text
bill.
message.
What's that?
It was a
Yeah.
text message from Rogan. Yeah, all
Oh,
right.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
look, anything in excess is probably bad. I mean, if
How
you're
many people have OD'd from marijuana in the history of the world?
No.
zero.
Zero. Yeah,
Zero.
exactly.
Let's be honest. That drug needed to be legalized a long time ago. I mean, I'm pro pot 100% because I've never listen. You smoke a joint and you get behind the wheel, you are definitely not as dangerous as somebody who's had 5 or 6 drinks,
Yeah.
who just can't have any motor function. You're gonna kill somebody.
Yeah.
How about
Exactly.
texting?
Texting is so dangerous. You could get in a rear end accident texting because you're not paying attention to a light or the car in front of you stopping. Way more dangerous.
Exactly.
So nobody's ever died from pot. It isn't a gateway drug. If somebody's going to do PCP or heroin or something strong, they're going to do it anyway. Pot's not the reason why they're doing it. They've already got the addiction in their personality. So anybody that says that's full of shit.
Well, what's really interesting too is I think psychedelics really opened up and changed the music because you even have psychedelic rock now, and if you listen to the songs on the Freedom Quest album, they've all got these really long jams in the middle.
Cool.
Incredible. I mean, every song on the on this Freedom Quest album is like 6 to 8 minutes
I
long.
love it. This
Yeah.
sounds like the Black Diamond sessions. This
Yeah,
is
you're
like when
gonna,
we do the
yeah.
Black Diamond sessions and we do 15-minute jams that go in and out and take all these different turns. And people just kind of like, that's awesome, you know? And you
Yeah.
don't have to be on psychedelics to enjoy it. But I do say if
Yeah.
you are on psychedelics, you will probably enjoy it more.
Well, yeah, and I think, it did change the music,
Well, you know, the whole Grateful
and
Dead.
artists, were experimenting with it, musicians were experimenting with it,
Yes,
and it did definitely change the music, yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
but can we go back
So,
to LA for a second? Because
uh-huh.
you were a bass player. Were you a dancer, then a bass player? How did that work
Good
out? And I have a
question.
question.
I did not pick up the bass until 14 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm a late bloomer. I'm a late musician. So I sang. So this is funny. So I was born. I'll go ahead and date myself. I was born in 1950, right?
great
So I'm
year.
75. I'll be 76 this year.
You look
Happy
great.
birthday,
Thank
Deb.
You
you. Yeah,
look great.
and thank you. And so back in the day, I got dance lessons so that I would be graceful enough to get a husband, right? And my two brothers got music lessons, but I did not get music lessons, and I think part of it too was my parents didn't want their only daughter hanging out with musicians. Well, guess what?
You already did.
I fell in love with one. Yeah.
You
Oh boy.
did.
They did not like that. That was not, a musician was not good enough for their child. Even though my father played piano and my mother was a singer, I came from a very musical family.
Ah,
But my brothers got guitar lessons. So I didn't learn music until I picked up the bass 14 years ago. I did not. I played a little guitar in high school, folk music, but I didn't know what I was playing. I memorized the chords and I had no idea what I was playing. So I
why the
picked up the bass.
bass? Why the bass?
I'll
Of
tell you.
all the instruments you could
Right.
choose, I mean, it's I mean,
Because she started
Pete's a
at
bass
guitar.
player. Pete's a
I'll tell
bass
you
player.
what. Yeah, I'll tell you why. So I was a dancer. I couldn't dance anymore. I pick up the bass. The bass is like dancing, the rhythm. So
The rhythm.
I can count anything because of dancing, right?
Yeah.
But I can't dance anymore, and I picked up the bass, and the bass is rhythm and melody. Perfect for me. So now the rhythm of dancing is coming out in my bass playing because I can't dance anymore. I mean, I think I can, but
Interesting.
so
It's true though. I mean, bass is part of the rhythm section. It's working in conjunction with the drums and it's laying down, the bottom end,
and yeah, and I have so much
Slap the
fun.
bass.
And it's funny because I would never call myself a musician because I only sang. And I know, a lot of people said, "Oh, you're a musician, you're a singer." But I didn't know music theory. I didn't know what I was singing. I have a really good ear. So I sang. My favorite is singing harmony. I love singing harmony, and so I had a really good ear, but I didn't know what I was singing. So I would not call myself a musician. And now I call myself a musician because I am a bass player who sings, and I'm singing in a band. I'm in a band in
What's the band?
Evanston.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's called the Dave Newman Band.
Okay.
Okay. Is
Dave
that
Newman.
Newman?
It is
Okay.
Dave Newman Band, and Dave plays guitar and he writes music, and then we do a lot of covers, and then we have a female singer named Lilo, who's really great, and so we do three-part harmony,
Nice.
and so it's guitar, bass, and drums, and three singers.
And
So
what kind of music are you covering? What's the music? Are you doing folk music?
no, we're doing like rock and roll and pop.
Okay.
We kind of spread the gamut from anywhere from when we do a couple of rock and roll, I mean, Rolling
How
Stones,
many
Okay.
Journey songs?
a lot of
Okay.
70s music.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
love that stuff.
and
Deb,
I can't believe it. I'm a bass player. I'm a bass player in a band for the first time ever,
Where
ever.
where's the upcoming gigs? Where are you guys gonna be?
Good question. We're trying to get more gigs. Now, I
Okay.
just started with them. I've only been with them for 7 months, and I've learned
Okay.
all of their material.
Okay.
And so now we're getting to the point. I mean, we've done some house parties, but we haven't really tried to get gigs out. But we're starting to say, okay, yeah, we're good enough where we want to go.
Good.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
let's see. It's three, one, two, three, four people. Yeah, four people. So Lilo sings and plays percussion. She's really
Oh,
good too. She's
oh,
her time is so
oh,
on.
good.
It's great.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
But it's so there's
yeah.
four of just three
Yeah,
musicians, but
drums,
you got the
bass, guitar,
singers. Yeah.
and three singers. Yeah. So
Cool.
so
Nice.
anyway, yeah. So it's just I'm pinching myself every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a bass player in a band, and I am singing one lead and playing walking bass on it. So
What's the
What
song?
song?
I am very proud of myself. It's called "I'm an Old Cow Hand," and it's another. It's a cover. It's a song from like 1938, Johnny Mercer. Johnny Mercer. So it's a popular song,
Hmm.
and I used to sing it with Craig. So the last band we had before Craig passed away, Craig died in 2020. So
Sorry
the,
to hear
the
that.
protagonist of this book,
Yeah.
he passed away in 2020.
Okay.
The love of my life, my soulmate. He's still with me, and yeah. So I forgot what I was going to say. What was I saying? I don't know.
You were
The
saying
song,
Pete,
you guys were
Pete,
covering
tie
it.
in the
Oh
bass.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this song, I'm an Old Cowhound. I used to sing
Yeah.
with Craig, but I never played bass with him. So it was after he passed away. He taught me how to play though. He taught me how
Okay.
to play. And he started teaching me music theory from the
Oh,
bass. So the
okay.
way that happened was when I got back together with him. So when I was married, I was not around any musicians at all. I really missed it. I was not
Oh
around any
man.
live music.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So 26 years of marriage, I raised two beautiful children. And it's not that there wasn't music in the house, but there was no live music in the
Yeah, you
house.
weren't going to see bands, nothing like that. Yeah.
No. So I really missed that. And I got back together with Craig, and I remember we would take some car trips, and we'd be in the car singing, and he realized that I really didn't know like the number system, like where's the tonic? Where's it, where does it go in the song and all that. And so he started testing me on this. We would be listening to the radio and he'd go, okay, where's the tonic? Sing the tonic. And I'm like, a lot of times I couldn't even find the
Yeah,
tonic of the songs.
what's the tonic mean?
I don't even know.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, well,
Serious.
the key,
I'm rooting
the,
on Pete.
wait, you guys are musicians, aren't you?
Yeah, but nobody's talked to me
Didn't
about
say
tonic.
I
I,
was
I hit
good.
I'm sorry.
things.
Okay, well, maybe that's an old phrase. Oh, that's an old term, maybe.
Well,
So it's the key that
teach
it's
us.
in.
Oh,
It's
oh, the
like
key.
right. So if like, you're singing, you go to the one chord, right?
Right.
Do you guys know the number system?
Tabs.
Like one, four,
Yeah,
five,
of
one,
course.
four, five, six, seven,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
One, four, five's a
Yeah.
major and two, yeah.
Yeah. I've
Okay.
never heard I've never heard the keys thing called a tonic though. That's the first time.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
tonic is the
Key.
what would you call it? Like the main
Tangeray.
note, right? The anchor note or
That's what
whatever.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
The key,
Beef
right?
eater.
And
Yeah.
the song usually ends on that, usually,
Nice.
right?
Very cool.
Anyway,
He was
so he
he was
started
teaching you
teaching
while
me.
you were driving. This is like
Yes. So he
education
would
while
say,
we got
okay, so it's on the
downtime.
one, 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 four, one, one,
Yeah.
one, five, two, two, five, one. Oh, I started, so I could hear, I had a good ear, right? But I never knew what. And so then with the bass, I started being able to figure all that out. So now I know. Yeah.
Nice. Fantastic.
I
Yeah.
started that whole thing, Deb, because where you grew up. I know it's the Chicago music scene, but you grew up in a pretty cool time in LA, and you're playing the bass. Did Carol Cake and the Wrecking Crew, did that come into play at all? Indulge.
I learned about Carol Kay later. I did not know about her honestly until I started playing bass, and then I learned about her life. And she actually lived not too far from where we lived. She was out in Lancaster, which was out in the desert. So yeah, not too far. I actually sent away for her bass lessons, so I followed her bass lessons for a while. She's no longer there though. She moved. I forget where she moved, but she's still around. And it was I really didn't feel like I had any role models, for music, rock and roll music, right? When I was born. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, okay, so I was 11, 61, 62, 11, 12. You start thinking, what am I going to do in life, right? There were no role models in rock and roll. There were no females, but Carol Kay was there. But I didn't know about Carol. She was behind the scenes, right? But I mean, the female rockers came a little later,
Late 60s,
Pretenders.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so
So,
your
Yeah,
I was,
Janis Joplins and
18,
your
19
Grace
years old.
Slick.
That's the sweet spot. What are you talking about, Deb?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let's see, what was I doing at 18, 19?
Did you go north to Hayton Ashbury? Did you hang out there? Play?
No, but Craig did.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there. He was in San Francisco playing in North Beach during the Summer of Love. That's in the book. There's some great band stories in the book, crazy
Cool.
stories.
Which
Stuff
which which
like stuff like the Grateful Dead or Quicksilver Messenger Service
Right.
and
Yeah.
Big Brother and the Holding Company, right? That
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah, so yeah, he was actually up there in San Francisco during the Summer of Love, playing in an area called North Beach. And it used to be like the jazz scene, but it slowly kind of morphed into the uh, like rock and roll, and so that's where they were playing in North Beach. And yeah, I mean, he had a band together, and they were up there the whole summer playing different clubs up there. And then so this is funny. So they graduated. He had a trio. They were called the Avantes, which means, I think it's Latin Avantes, right? Moving forward. He had a trio. I'm still in touch with the bass player, singer in the trio, the Avantes.
Mm.
And so, and when they graduated from high school, as I said, they got fake IDs, and then they had a manager, and the manager was booking them all over. So one of the jobs he got for them was a 3-week stint. Get this, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at the Cat's Meow Supper Club. The Cat's Meow Supper Club, and it still exists.
Cool.
Yeah. Or I don't know if it still exists. I think it burned down in a fire, but you can see the article, the newspaper article. I did the research.
Nice.
Anyway, the Cat's Meow. So to save money, they decide to drive Route 66 from LA to Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Wow.
in Craig's Pontiac Le Mans sports car, 3 musicians and 2 singer-dancers.
Wow. Sheesh. I want to hear about some of those road stories.
Yeah, exactly. So that's in the book. That story's in the book. And then they were the house band at the Chi Chi Club on Catalina Island.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. So that's a crazy, crazy time
Cool.
there.
Deb, why don't you open up the book and give me some of your favorite chapters so
Oh,
we can maybe trip over an algorithm for you.
yeah. I just uh I just gave you 2 of the best chapters, all the books, all the band stories. And then I had a young lady by the name of Mary Quinlan do some illustrations, because the book spans, it's epic. It spans 55 years. And so I thought, well, to kind of place people
Yeah.
in, what's going on, I had her do some really, really cute
Oh, the
maps.
San
So there's,
Fernando Valley.
yeah, so there's
Okay.
the San Fernando Valley, and it says Grace's house and
Yeah.
Michael's house, you see?
Ah, nice.
So yeah, so along the way she's done some, and the Cat's Meow is in here. The Cat's Meow in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Hmm.
So they got to Fort Wayne, and 2 of the guys were like, "Come on, Craig, let's go to Chicago. We got to go to Chicago. It's not that far." And Craig's like, "No, you guys go." So he never made it to Chicago in his whole life.
Ah,
The other 2 guys went, and he decided to not go, and he never made it.
hmm.
So
It's too
He's here
bad.
in spirit now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Wow.
Yeah.
what a great tribute. How long did it take you to do the book, Deb? How'd you get started? Did you get help, an editor?
Yeah.
Help us.
Almost 6 years, five
Oh,
and a half
wow.
years of work.
That's
Yeah.
not bad, I guess, for someone who's not normally writing books, right? I mean,
Yeah, I made a lot of beginning mistakes, you know.
yeah.
It's so Craig always wanted to write a story, and one of his high school friends who became a professional writer also they started his book together because he had such an unconventional life. I mean, crazy life,
Lots of stories.
lots of stories,
Yeah.
and he started dictating to me. He got sick in 2014 out of the blue. He was 67 years old. And he woke me up one morning, February 14th, 2014, at 4:30 in the morning with a grand mal seizure. And he ended up with epilepsy. And he had five grand mal seizures. Each of them lasted 10 minutes.
Ugh.
And
And
for the people that don't know, I mean, your face just goes blank. And what happened?
well, it scared the hell out of me. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I had never seen a grand mal seizure. And then if you look on, do the research like on the Epilepsy Foundation, most grand mal seizures last between 3 minutes, around 2 to 3 minutes.
Mm.
And his were all 10 minutes long.
Wow.
And they damaged his heart
Yeah.
before they could find the right medications. And then the medications, he ended up having to take two different medications for that, and the medications were really strong side effects. So, kind of no energy. He really kind of lost any desire to play, and it was
Mm.
very sad. And then it was very weird too because like the first seizure medication took away the grand mals, but then he started getting these what they're called petite mal seizures. So these were like the grand mal seizures were like maybe once every couple of weeks. So it was about the space of 3 months that he had these grand mal seizures until they finally figured out that the
Mm.
medications.
Mm.
And then he would started this one medication for the grandma, and then he started getting these petite mal, and he was getting them like 5 times a day, and they were just 20 seconds long. And he could do anything. He could walk, talk, pour coffee, whatever, but he couldn't talk.
Mm.
And that was so ironic because he we called him Mr. Jukebox. He could sing, play, anything. He remembered all the words to all the songs.
Yeah.
And then, that was taken away from him. So that was really tough. So he finally got on the second medication and he was seizure free, but he lost his energy and he really couldn't perform after
Mm.
that. So it was very sad. So I was a full-time caregiver towards the
Yeah.
end.
Wow.
Mm.
Deb, I mean, heck of a story, heck of a book.
Yeah.
Where do we get it at? Obviously, Amazon.
Sure.
Well,
And there's another great place. It's called bookshop.org.
Okay.
And at that website, you can actually give credit to your local independent bookstore.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So
Gotta
I like
support
that.
those the independents, it's so
Yeah,
important.
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
screw
right.
Amazon. What are they going to give you a nickel a book? Well,
Um,
that out in post.
If
What?
yeah,
that.
actually, I don't even know at this point. I mean, it's actually so the big release is tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it's
Timing's
Oh,
been
great.
on pre-order up until
Okay,
now.
great.
And then it comes out supposedly, April 21st tomorrow. And then some people have already gotten their books that have ordered them pre-order. And then, everybody's, they're being shipped at this point.
Okay.
But you asked me about the book. So yeah, so I was going to share with you if you have time. I don't know if we're running out of time.
we got about five left, so go
Okay,
ahead.
let me
Yeah.
share with you. So I started writing the book after he passed away, but he had dictated stories to me. So luckily I had the early stuff before I met him. So elementary school, he went to the seminary. He wanted to be a Catholic priest at the age of 14. So I got a lot of these real early stories. He was a good Catholic boy
Mm.
until the Vietnam War.
And then he went wrong.
Yeah, his best friend died, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had all these stories, so that kind of started me out. But I wrote it in first person, so it was because I had dictated the stories. It was I did this and I did that, so it was Craig's voice. And I went into workshopping the book with professional writers, and they're like, this is not a memoir because it's not in my voice. I don't know what to do with this book. And I don't know why you wrote it in first person. It should be in third person so you can bring in your story too. And I'm like, oh no. So I rewrote the whole book.
Wow.
And this
So
is
that took,
before AI.
oh yeah, no. And I tried it. I actually tried it. I tried AI
Yeah.
and it didn't work. So I had to rewrite the whole thing. Yeah. Rewriting it from first person to third person is a lot more than just changing the pronouns,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Interesting.
had to rewrite the whole thing. So.
Wow.
Now, Deborah, we have time for one more question. And for how crazy this podcast is, this is probably going to be the most clickable clip of the show. Bongo Mike, do you have a question to ask Deborah?
Yeah. Pop-Tarts, love them or hate them?
Hate them.
You hate Pop-Tarts? Did you ever try it with butter?
You're
Yeah.
supposed to say gag me with a spoon.
Gag me with a spoon for sure.
There you go.
There you
Now
go.
you got the Valley Girl thing going.
Oh man, I at my age I gotta eat really healthy. I can't
Totally
do any of that
understandable.
stuff
Good.
anymore. But I
Yeah.
will go and buy some pastries at, maybe Sauce and Bread Kitchen.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Deborah Masterson, thank you for coming on the
Thank you so
Chicagoland
much.
Pod Music.
And I'll tell
Podcast.
you, can I just say, please, my website, go to my website, DeboraMasterson.com. So it's Debora. You see it right there, DeboraMasterson.com. And all the events, because I got 2 events in Chicago. We're gonna have a party. So
Send that to me, and I'll
live music. I'm playing the bass. Yeah.
Pete will bring the weed.
Ah!
What a perfect guess for 420 April.
Yeah,
12th.
420, man.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe it.
Think about it. It's very symbiotic.
Well, I'm flying to San Diego on Friday, and I do a book signing in San Diego in the same neighborhood where the Freedom Quest band was rehearsing at our house in North Park. And it's on the anniversary, April 25th, is Craig and my anniversary when we got back together again. How does that
Fantastic.
happen? So,
Best of luck, safe
I
travels.
love
And
it.
I'm interested in this book. I have to check it out.
thank you so
are
much.
a hoot.
Thank you. I just
We
had a
love you,
blast.
baby.
I love you too, guys. Thank you.
All right, take care.